Peace to the family. Today, I had something in my craw again. But first, let me give you a proper greeting of peace. Peace. I hope this recording finds you in the best of life, strength, and health. Again, I won't tarry long today, but there's been something that has been bothering me in my community. And it's misinformation. To get into it real fast, I saw a brother posting on one of the social media platforms that the transatlantic slave trade was not real. It never occurred. Now, I've heard arguments in the terms of the numbers that were involved in the transatlantic slave trade, but never have I heard, except this time, let me be careful, that term never, that's what the issue is. When you say never, you're setting yourself up for a fail. Generally, you setting yourself up for a fail because never, it says that it never has happened, that there's no possibility of it ever happening. And the only thing I would bet never on is probably gravity. And I'd be careful about that bet too. So, there's a movement in our community saying that slavery never happened. With all of the records from every angle involved in the triangular trade, the records in jolly old England, the shipwrecks in the Caribbean, the colonial forts in Africa proper, Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia, Senegal. I even heard them trying to say that at Gorée Island it never happened. It was a ploy to bring in tourism. In my opinion, man, this is just something. It's like now it's our own people doing the work of the white supremacists. I don't have a problem with you debating the numbers, but I'd be careful in that, because during the colonial conflicts all over North America, South America, the Caribbean, a lot of those records were burned. A lot of the people were, illiterate. I'm talking about the Europeans. So they didn't write it down. They weren't the best record keepers. In several places, the chattel slavery system was so brutal that as soon as they worked you to death, they was off to the slave market to buy somebody to replace you. Right? So, another thing is being Native American or indigenous to the Caribbean, indigenous to North America. We know and understand that there were indigenous populations of first world people, as well as phenotypically African people from New York, from upper New York State, lower Florida, the Gulf Coast, South Carolina, Louisiana. And we roughly talking 14th century, 15th century. But those numbers are debatable. first world people, they weren't into censuses. So we could never be sure of what those exact populations were, to the extent of having a scholarly or even having a workable number of how many first world people and how many phenotypically African people were already here before 1492, 1619, subsequently the colonial period, the Bellum period, and the antebellum period. There are some mathematical algorithms that try to create some models to be able to study the phenomena a little better. But again, there's something going on in the black community on these subjects. I've seen celebrities getting involved in it. One minute they African goddesses, and the next minute they cowboys. You know, and it's like those measures to accentuate the Americanness of African American people. Again, in my eyes, it's a psyop. You know, I know and understand succinctly and very well that, you know, the people who I descend from, you know, have agrarian roots, have, you know, for lack of a better term, country folk. You know, I have no problem with country folk, country music, country line dancing. But to tie that into we have no African extract, I have a problem with that. Because all you got to do is prick your finger and check that DNA. And you will be amazed at how much African blood you have in you. Some people have a lot of indigenous blood in them. And some of us have white blood in us as well. No one ever wants to talk about that white blood. But for the most part, a lot of African Americans got white blood in them. I know people don't want to hear it. People don't want to accept it. But it's true. You know, a lot of black people got white blood in them because of miscegenation, because of the horrors of chattel slavery in the United States. Also, there's a professor, Dr. Gates, Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Dr. Henry Louis Gates, although he has some good information, I think he's a tool as well. Recently, he was showing how one particular celebrity who appears to be white nowadays actually descended from a black woman, which, you know, it's no secret that black women just by numbers oftentimes coupled with white men and produced offsprings. And these offsprings throughout the line, they lightened up and passed, and then after subsequent generations were accepted as white. It's not a big thing. And another thing that really is bothering me is that I'm hearing young people saying, well, I'm not my ancestors. We're not our ancestors. Well, who the fuck are you if you're not your ancestors? And if you are alluding to your ancestors being docile, your ancestors not fighting back, and you would have done more than your ancestors did, well, I'll take you to your scriptural references. It says, honor thy mother and thy father, that the days be long upon this earth, which the Lord God has given thee. You honor not your mother and your father. You honor not your ancestors. For what? For a hashtag? For a few clicks and a few likes? The sound chic? The sound woke? Or whatever? That's why it's so important in the days that we living in. And today is in the year 2025, roughly in April, as the Department of Education is being dismantled, as the notable works of descendants of African people, Black people, African Americans are being erased by the white supremacist system, we're in trouble. Jackie Robinson being erased from the military honor rolls. Harriet Tubman being erased from the military honor rolls. The Tuskegee Airmen being erased from the military honor rolls. I guarantee you there will never be a day when they erase the white David Eisenhower from the military honor roll. Even the military bases named after Confederates, traitors to this nation, are being put back on military bases where nobles of all races, creeds, and climes are serving the country of the United States of America, i.e. Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, Fort Jackson. And our people saying we are not our ancestors, but everyone else honors their ancestors. The transatlantic slave trade did not exist. We're not African, we're American, we're FBAs, we're ADOs. When they pull you over on the side of a road, they don't care a FBA or a ADO or a Pan-Africanist about you. And what hurts me so bad is it's not Europeans per se that are doing these things. These ideals are brought to us by charlatans in our community, who now the young people, they say they are master teachers. We're not talking about the Arturo Schomburgs, the John Heinrich Clarks, the Dr. Joseph Ben Yuckinens, the Dr. Ivan Van Sertimers, the Dr. Chancellor Williams, the Nathan Hares, the Naeem Akbars, the Dr. Francis Cress Welsling, the Dr. Neely Fullers, the Dr. Lerone Bennett Jr.'s, all master teachers who labored in academic institutions that meant them no good. They had to fight every step of the way to be recognized, for their scholarship to be accepted. And nowadays we are saying that there was never an African slave trade. We're not aware. We celebrate a culture, a cowboy culture. Yes, we did develop a lot of the rodeo games. A lot of those came from things that we were doing in the field. that we were doing, whereas Europeans called themselves cattlemen, but they still would not recognize a black man for being a man, and he was called a cowboy. So cowboy culture is a insult as well. You understand what I'm saying? So doing your due diligence in your history and who you are is very important. And they're trying to wipe this out. They're going to wipe this out. And if it's already trickled down to the point where they say there's never been any type of slavery, what's next? What's next on the horizon for African people? And I'm specifically speaking of African people in North America. You know, be careful where you get your information from. Be careful who you listen to. I mean, a simple Google search, say slave wreckages. Say the last slave wreckage in the United States. I'm sure you will come up with Clotel, the Clotel, which sank off the coast of Alabama. I can't recall the year right off the top of my head, but I'm telling you that the notion that you can make an argument that the slave trade did not exist because you can't see any shipwrecks, you're not a certified diver. And I'm going to defer to my big elder, who oftentimes I don't agree with him, but he was very articulate and very succinct. And he said he gave his credentials as a master diver, never a former, but a U.S. Marine who has dived and saw these hulls of slave ships trapped in the coral reefs off of Caribbean islands, Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados has plenty of these wreckages. And that's not even to talk about the wreckages off the coast of Rhode Island and Connecticut and those old shipyards. And how much do you think is going to be left after 400 years, 300 years submerged in water? I'm reminded of one of the songs of the 70s by some Pure White Chocolate, the Doobie Brothers. Let's say what a fool believes. It hurts me so bad to hear my people in this condition. It hurts me so bad. And then for them to be so adamant about it. What can you do? What can you say? I hope this video finds you in the best of life, strength, and health. I hope it's added on to your living and your liberty. I pray that you do your due diligence. Again, my intent is not to offend. But if you found it offensive, I beg your pardon. But I will say this. I'd rather offend you than to lie to you or allow someone else to prevaricate untruths to you. Again, if you lived a day without learning, you wasted a day in your life that you can never get back.